Over the last week, we've learned a lot about the next edition of Kill Team, and obviously, although the activation systems are still very different, there are now more similarities between Kill Team and its big brother than ever before. Asymmetric missions, hiding mechanics, and obscuring terrain, to name a few. My point is, these changes are creating a little bit more alignment between the two systems, and if 11th edition is going to succeed, it needs an on-ramp that doesn't stutter in the middle. Kill Team, Combat Patrol, and 40k. Obviously, the articles have been pretty broad strokes up to now, and things have been suspiciously quiet about Combat Patrol, but I genuinely do believe that Combat Patrol could be the ace up 11th edition sleeve. If they get Combat Patrol right, we get a smooth introduction to the flagship game, one that might even get someone like me who prefers the sort of skirmish scale of Kill Team to give 40k its due once again. If my YouTube analytics are anything to go by in terms of audience, they're going to struggle to get fresh faces, fresh blood into the game, and certainly not having an accessible way to actually get to grips with a flagship product can't be good for the game. For me, though, the biggest thing is the evident appetite for the game. It's been by far the biggest sort of buzz point for my sort of smaller Kill Team communities when it comes to discussing 40k and playing the game again. People in my little Kill Team communities are buzzing about Combat Patrol and the possibility of being able to get to grips with 40k without that 2,000 point yomp. I mean, if you want evidence for the appetite for this kind of a game mode, we've only got to look at Spearhead over in Age of Sigmar, which is kind of universally lauded as a fun and interesting way to play the game. Look at the success of the play on tabletop format, King of the Colosseum, as well. This is a sort of wildly popular game mode, so there's obviously something there. Let's talk about it. If you want to help the channel out, please go ahead and subscribe. Let's break it down. Right now, the entry into 40k is really messy. And the thing is, wargaming as a hobby is already one of the steepest hills to climb. Imagine for 1 minute, I told a gamer, for example, that they had to assemble Ryu before they ever got to do a Hadouken, then paint him like 100 times. Already a hard enough sell, right? But the real ball breaker is, like, before he even gets there, he has to work out which version of Street Fighter to buy. I mean, you could start with Kill Team, my favourite standalone product that Games Workshop produce at the moment. Brilliant rule set, but really a game in its own right, one step removed from big 40k as a hobby. And then you've got Combat Patrol, which is frankly a bit of a dead game mode, a flash in the pan compared to, you know, the success of Spearhead, for example. You could maybe buy like a random battle force each with your buddies and try play a game that way, but there's huge variance both in the monetary savings of those boxes as well as the point values in game. You could maybe try and aim for 500 points, but even then, like, the game isn't really balanced around 500 points very well either. Or you could do what it seems like the only real viable path is for big 40k, and that is dive into just trying to put a 2,000 point army together. Doing things that way as well must be really overwhelming if you're not able to chunk down those tasks, you know. No wonder we have so many piles of shame knocking about. My point is, this hobby that I love, that is worth getting into for so many reasons, does not have a clean or accessible entry point, or even like a bottom rung to the ladder, really. Combat Patrol was meant to be that bridge, a way to get into the hobby initially with one box, one product that plays well, one product that you can assemble and put together and enjoy playing with the rules from 40k. Instead, we just kind of got selections of boxes that just weren't as good as battle forces for building 2k armies. And again, the Combat Patrol rule set just leaves so much to be desired. It never quite became essential. The middle of the on-ramp for 40k as a hobby just is not there. So for me, here is where things get a little bit more interesting. We have had a slew of Combat Patrols that contain Kill Teams. If that's not just Games Workshop trying to throw a load of Kill Teams out the door, and it isn't random, and is a sign of things to come for the 11th edition of 40k. That's integration between the systems. And look, I'm not saying that every combat patrol should have a kill team. That would limit the scope, the point of the combat patrols altogether. But with how limited kill team releases are, I don't think it'd be a huge stretch for every kill team to find their way into a combat patrol. And that should be pretty easy now that they've got Imperial Agents as like an umbrella faction to throw all the weirdos in. Imagine how much value you would then get out of that first box, out of that entry point. Suddenly, it doesn't just play one game anymore, it plays two. And say this with me, that is out of the box. Say that with me again. A box that you're paying a premium price for, £80 plus, would actually be usable as a standalone product. That's when the small alignments between Kill Team and 40k would really kind of come into their own. Obviously, Kill Team would introduce you to things like primary and secondary objectives, trading, asymmetric battlefield objectives, and so on. Naturally, Combat Patrol would lead on to other unit types, vehicles, monsters, and so on. And obviously, Combat Patrol has the rules base of 40k built in. It's not 3 games in sort of isolation anymore, it's actual progression. This is an actual workable on-ramp for new players to get into the game, and I cannot stress this enough. One box that actually lets them play the game properly. It really is testament to the strength of 40k's lore and sort of appeal. It really is testament to 40k's appeal that the fucking thing's even still going, really. When you think about how unworkable the introduction to the game is right now.